Alright guys, here is probably my last video on the Soundcraft expression. This one is about subgroups and how we manage those here. It's so easy to mix off the first 32 faders, but sometimes it gets a little out of control once you start switching between all the banks and all that we have going on. And so what we've done is routed them into subgroups. So you'll see when you hit bank C that we have all the subgroups right over here, and right now currently active. This first one is the subs, so that's feeding our subwoofers, all the low end we could possibly need. The second one right here is drums, and then we have guitars, vocals, keys, horns, and we can keep going down. There's choir, and so on. And so as we go down, we get different subgroups, and basically these are really just mix buses for the for an individual set of instruments. So what we have in this second one right here would be all of the drum mics running to it. And so here's how we set that up. First of all, we go back to our main page of faders. We hit A, and now we can see all of our drums are down here on the end. You can see the label kick, snare, over, under, hi-hat, toms. We go through overheads and percussion and end there at bass. That doesn't get into our setup. And so to see what happens here, we will come up to the mix setup right here. And we know that that came in on 2. That was the second fader. We can go back and look. We got the second fader right here. And if I hold it down, it tells me that this is indeed drums. It's obviously too bright for you guys to read. Let's see if I can get in closer. There we go. Can almost read it. So difficult. So that says drums on there. You'll just have to trust me. And so when I look at that, what we've got is we've got a set of drums running through there. We'll go back to page A on our banks. And so we know that's the second fader down there. So what that corresponds to is mix 2 right here. And when I push this, you'll see that all of those drum mics are set at 0 right there on the mix. That allows us to mix from the front page and keep those, the amount that they're sending that mix to a level amount right there at Unity. And so we want to mix from the front page, so we set those at 0. Very nice and simple. And then we just use this to back out. So what I've done, and now we'll walk you through the process, is to put something in that mix group. I'll push number 2 right here. And let's say I want to add fader 13, or I guess this is fader 19. I'll slide it up to Unity right at 0. And now whatever's on this fader, which happens to be organ, is now a part of the drum submix. So that is where the organ is now going. It's not where we want it, so if I come back here to mix 2, turn that off, and we're back into mixing, that is now running through the drum subgroup. So I can come back to mix 2 and shut it off. It is no longer existent in that subgroup. So as we go down, we push mix 3, and that corresponds to the guitars. So you see all the guitars pop up. Mix 4 corresponds to the keys. Let's make sure. Mix 4 actually corresponds to the vocals. The keys are after that. So in mix 4, you will see that on bank B down here, that's where we'll get these vocal channels popping up. And then mix 5 is the keys for us. And so back on bank A of the faders, you'll see all those keys pop up. This is how we run those. But there is one more little trick to that. If I select the guitars, you will also see it's not run to left and right main mix of the house. That's deselected. So this actually runs only through the subgroup. And that subgroup mix 3 for the guitars, for instance, if we're now in the guitar section, we come up here and we see that it is selected. So that puts it on in the main mix. This is just like the subgroups in an analog console. It allows us to just feed a set of instruments through there, really nice. And you'll also notice that if we go into the subgroup faders, that if I go to, let's say, guitars where we were, here's the fader associated with that. And we can come over here and do EQ and compression just based on this. So you'll see that the compressor actually has a very light ratio of 1.7 to 1, and the threshold's about 24. So it's just very lightly pulling them back down, kind of making it a little more, I don't want to use the word compressed because that's obvious, but a little tighter. Allows us to keep those under control in case a guitar happens to jump back out. We do the same thing on vocals or anything else that's going on. So here's the vocal one running 2 to 1, thresholds right at -30. So that allows us a little more tight control over those mixes and gives us a little more tight sound that's a little more CD and produced sound, which is great. So once again, all of the mixes are accessed through here. You just hit the button and dial in what you want on that mix, and it's very easy to have those mix groups compressed and EQ'd themselves. Allows us to get around really easy. And so just for your reference, we also put this Soundcraft iPod software in, and you can see down here at the bottom, if I can get in close enough, that this first button over here actually says inputs if you can't read it. So that runs on the input level. It doesn't do faders, the equivalent. This is just 1 through 64 of the inputs. But we also have the buses button, which is where we've been leaving it the most time. And this gives us access straight away to those subgroups. So we've got vocals and choir and keys, and we can easily turn them on and off and raise and lower their sound level by incremental amounts through here instead of having to fight through pages on the mixer. So that's found by going from inputs right over to buses, and that's generally where we've been staying during the service.